Fans. I'm Dan Savage alongside our good friend Chrissy Birdsall. And we're here once again to present Courtside Countdown by Hard Rock Bet as your Orlando Magic get set to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in frigid Cleveland. Chrissy, how's it going today?
Doing much better down in Orlando than I would be in Cleveland, Dan. That's definitely for sure. We definitely are lucking out down here, at least in terms of weather-wise. Was able to go to the beach yesterday. It was so nice. I mean, definitely not jealous of anybody that's in Cleveland right now. Should be a good game, but definitely enjoying the weather much more down here.
And as all of you know, this is an interactive show. We rely on the questions from you, the fans. So whether you're on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, etc., feel free to submit your questions. Chrissy and I will be more than happy to get to them over the course of the show. And Chrissy, as you know, the Magic are hungry for a win, eager to get revenge against a Cleveland Cavaliers team that got the better of the Magic just 2 nights ago at the Kia Center. Chrissy, as you look ahead to this matchup, what do you see the keys for the Magic bouncing back? What were some of the things that plagued them in that first matchup?
Yeah, I actually want to start and address this comment from Kyle Gaming that said, probably going to get flamed for this, but I think it's time to panic because you mentioned it. The Magic, losing their last 3, they're hungry for a win. A lot of pressure coming into the night's game in Cleveland. But you look at the last 3 seasons of this team, and it's one thing that's been consistent is what their record has been through the first 44 games, 23-21. And I feel like every year you look at that record, and even though it's the same record, the mentality and the thoughts behind this team from the fans, from the players, from the coaches, from everybody has been completely different between year 1 of that 23-21 record to this year. And I think that just comes with the expectations. But you look at that Cleveland game the other night, and even though it wasn't a win and you're not going to take any moral victories from the win, I know it's something that you hear a lot, at least around here, but it felt like a much needed improvement from what we had saw the other day against Charlotte and even against Memphis when they were all the way back in London. That this team, they came out with a little bit more firepower on both ends of the floor. That was something they had emphasized, was getting the starts a little bit better. Their defense improved. They held Donovan Mitchell, a really strong player, to a little bit under his scoring average in that first half, and then he really picked it up in those third and fourth quarters. But that's the thing about this team is that it's been baby steps, one day at a time. Desmond Bain said that he felt that the energy was better. He said he felt that it was improving a little bit. It just hasn't been good enough yet. The shots need to start falling, but it feels like things might be starting to turn around. Now we have to see if the process is going to lead to those results.
No, without a doubt, Chrissy, shots need to start falling. That's the key thing. When you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, if they have one weakness, they're at the bottom of the league in terms of their opponent's 3-point percentage. Teams light them up from beyond the arc. And I thought the Magic had a ton of good open looks, as Magic head coach Jamal Mosley said, as Desmond Bain said, but still, they only managed to shoot 27.5% from beyond the arc. And a number of those came late in the fourth quarter when the game was a little bit out of reach. And in my opinion, when you were looking at it over the course of the night, I'm like, if just, 3 of those shots went down, which would be still below league average and still in line with the way the Magic have shot throughout the course of the season, if they just shot to their average, they would be right there neck and neck in the course of the game. And with the type of shots that Cleveland's going to challenge the Magic to take tonight, there is no other offensive scheme that can work other than knock down your open shots. There are teams throughout the NBA who would kill for those looks, who are trying to scheme for those looks, and the Magic just need to knock them down. That's the bottom line. That's the way it goes. Throughout the NBA, you have to hit down your open shots, when they come. So, Chrissy, we've heard players talk the last number of the weeks about getting off to a hot start. In your head, what are the keys to doing that tonight?
I think just coming out with a bit of intensity on both ends of the floor. And I think you got a little bit of a boost in that last game on Saturday, having Jalen Suggs back, especially on the defensive end. I mean, you look in the month of January, Orlando is 27th in plus minus in the first quarter, 28th in points, 29th in field goal percentage, and 30th in 3-point percentage. And it felt like right away, as soon as Jalen Suggs came back in that starting lineup on Saturday, that already some of that stuff was starting to improve. Even if the 3 ball wasn't falling, the defense took a huge huge improvement. There were better looks, there were better transitions. So it feels like things are starting to click a little bit more, but they have to come out with that same energy, especially against good players like Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, like those two guys. They were able to contain them a little bit in that first quarter, and it wasn't until the middle quarters and then that fourth quarter where those two really started to take off. And I think after the game, I believe it was Jalen Suggs or Desmond Bain said that, Anthony Black on the defense did a good job of keeping Mitchell in check, but they got to put a 48-minute effort, a full fourth quarter effort together to stop this team and this offense. And that's going to be a big key, is that they have to get that strong start once again, keep it close, but they have to maintain it throughout the rest of the game as well, Dan.
No doubt about it. Getting to a few of your comments on YouTube. First out, shout out Jay Curve, who we had the pleasure, Kendra and I, of meeting at the Kia Center. Still watching, while in the Kia Center. So appreciate the love from Jay Curve. We need a win tonight for the locker room. Absolutely. One of the things that I think fans can misconstrue is just where the team is, mentally. And I think what you really have to go back to is, first off, it's hard to win in the NBA. And if you look at the Eastern Conference, there are a lot of teams who are going through what the Magic are going through right now. Whether you look at the New York Knicks, who a lot of people, label the powerhouse of the Eastern Conference, and you could go up and down the line. The Celtics, who had this great start and everybody was praising for the way that they handled injuries, have basically the same record as the Magic over the last 10 games. It's that time of year where injuries start to take a toll. And I think what, people may not understand is, look, when you're down players, it's even harder. It requires more energy, etc. And I think we're seeing the taxing effect of 2 straight seasons of players up and down the roster being injured, the type of energy that requires for players to manufacture, and the lengthy road trips, the overseas trips, all take their toll on the team. And as I was looking through the stats, I was just starting to think to myself the other day, Chrissy, how many, games have we seen Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs, the big trio over the last 2 years before Bane got here, play over the last couple of seasons together? And they've only played in 17 of the Magic's under 26 regular season games over the last 2 seasons, just 13.5% of the time. And in those minutes they've been on together, on the court together, which has been 136 minutes, the Magic are shooting over 52% from the floor and over 38% from three. Those are numbers that, you'd be blown away with. And if the Magic had done that over the course of the season, would be right there at the top of the East. They've also outscored their opponents by over 50 during that span. So what that demonstrates to me is when this Magic team is whole, they're right there among the best in the Eastern Conference. But it's a matter of treading water until that can happen. And so, Chrissy, one of the things that has helped that get closer to that is we saw Jalen Suggs come back. So that's the positive part of this. What did you see out of Jalen Suggs in his return?
I felt really good about how he played in that game. I mean, obviously, coming in, he's a bull in a china shop. That's how I've been describing him the last couple of games, is that he's just a menace on both sides of the court. He can run down, try and jack up a three, do something cool on the offensive end, then he gets right back on defense, and he is giving every single player a whole lot of trouble. And that was something I know Anthony Black was very excited about, when those two were able to come back on the court together and play defense, 2 very good defenders for this team this year. And you look at the stats, you see, okay, he's got 9 points. He was minus 17 in the plus minus. He had 6 assists. And I know he said after the game that he's still getting that balance, one between coming back and getting his legs under him and getting in shape, but also just being a point guard and getting open looks for himself and trying to convert versus also getting some other guys going. And as he gets more games under his belt, as we've seen with some of the other players that have been starting to come back, like Mo Wagner, I think that he'll continue to find that balance between getting his open shots and also getting the other guys going as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And that takes us to a question from Sean, who said, is asking why the coaching staffs failed to get Bane more looks from three. He's shooting a career low in 3-point attempts. Well, you have to, it's not apples to apples. The Grizzlies are a different team than the Orlando Magic, number one. And, Ja Morant, when he's played with Desmond Bane, has a tendency to get downhill. He draws doubles right off the bat. And those kickouts have led to, looks for Bane. And, the other thing that I think other people forget about too is Jaren Jackson is a driving big. he also helps create some of those spray out shots for Desmond Bane. And when you talk to, opposing coaches, as I've done over the last, couple of weeks, is trying to see what they see when they look at the Magic, talking some of that on the record, off the record. I think though a lot of teams' game plans with the Magic shorthanded and take into account this was pre-Jalen Suggs returning, is they're focusing on two things. Number one, they're doubling as soon as Paolo puts the ball on the floor. So their game plan, a lot of these teams when they're playing the Magic, is the second Paolo puts the ball on the floor, send the double. And you see that if you watch the games, you'll see that repeatedly. And the other one is run Desmond Bane off the three-point line. So those are the two ways that teams are playing the Magic right now. And what it's going to take in order to break that is to start hitting outside shots from the surrounding cast. So whether that be Wendell Carter Jr. when he has open threes, taking him, knocking down, whether that Anthony Black, creating as a secondary playmaker, or having Jalen Suggs back in the lineup. And, once he's able to play more minutes off that minutes restriction, taking outside shots, I think that can help alleviate that. And then obviously the last part of that is having Franz Wagner back on your court, having your three, highest paid guys be out there to help support Desmond Bane. And I think you'll start to see as the season progresses, that number shoot up.
Yeah, it should be very interesting to see. And I know you were talking about that tweet you had with just the few minutes that the big three have kind of played together, that the really good things can happen. And then you add in a guy like Desmond Bane and add him into the fold as well. It felt like when the team was fully healthy and all of those guys were on the floor together, Desmond Bane was still adjusting to this team. I mean, you got to remember, this is a guy that you picked up at the beginning of the season back in the summer. So he's still getting his feet under him and trying to get his way around the offense. And it feels like his confidence has gotten a lot more up as the season has gone on. He's been the one consistent guy throughout all of these injuries, guys coming in and out. He's played in almost every single game. His minutes, he's averaging over 35 minutes per game. And you see him not afraid to take that three ball when he has the opportunity, but you see him getting downhill a lot more as well. So you mentioned it, right? When Franz comes back, when everybody's fully in there, I think this game will open up a little bit more for Desmond Bane. So whoever's commenting, don't get too worried yet about him. I know that the three ball has been a bit of a thorn in the side the last couple of years, Dan, before even I got here. But that's something that this team, you'll see get to improve as everybody comes out.
Yeah, and not to take away, I know that not only the coaching staff, but players are trying to make a conscious look to get Bane more open looks for three. Wendell Carter talked about that today at shoot around. But the other side of it too is, he's also going to well surpass his finishes at the rim. He's going to set a career high on that. So it's not like he's not involved in the game plan or hasn't been affected. I mean, his numbers are still really good, and he's going to well surpass his finishes at the rim. So still finding ways to be effective in that regard. Chrissy, another player who's still trying to get their feet under him, we heard from him at shoot around today, is Mo Wagner. What have you seen out of Mo and getting your first chance to kind of watch him up close?
Yeah, definitely between that New Orleans Pelicans game where he made his debut back after being out for over a year, recovering from that ACL, got to see him a little bit in Europe, sat out for a game or so, then came back. And I was very impressed with how he played on Saturday, especially at the end of the game. He's one of those guys, he comes off of the bench and you can tell he really absorbs the energy of the crowd, of the players around him, and he can bring that energy when the team needs it off of the bench. And you look at his plus minus, it was minus 14. I know some of the fouls had to do with that, but I felt he was pretty efficient and he was getting his groove as the game was going on. And you think about being out for a year with an injury, it's hard to make that comeback, get your wind under you, get used to the pace of play. He was talking about it at shoot around today. I heard him saying that he's still kind of getting his feet under him, but just hearing how happy he is to be out there and how much joy he has to be back with his brothers, back with the team, playing. He said that even though they've been losing, he's been smiling just because of how happy he's been to be back in the lineup. I think that's something really encouraging to see. And you're seeing the numbers go up for him now over the last couple of games. Expect that to continue to grow, especially as he gets more comfortable with his knee, with his conditioning, and everything else at the end of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Taking some more questions, looking at LGUS1, loyal blue member for section 114 for years, asking who the real leader is of the Magic, and that's all. Well, I think that's a really good question. And Magic head coach Jamal Mosley talked a lot about going into the season about, when I asked him what did he want to see out of the growth of Paolo, Franz, Jalen this season? He wanted to see them grow as leaders. And I think the thing is for Paolo and Franz, they're two guys who just naturally are leaders by example. The work they put in and day out is the way that their leadership style, they go about it. But I think what people want to see as they grow and develop, because keep in mind they're still in their early 20s, both those guys, is they have to grow as vocal leaders. And I think as time goes on, that's areas that they'll step into. And I think we're slowly seeing them progress into that. And that's one of the benefits of going through a challenging stretch early in the season is this is an opportunity for those guys to grow. You face adversity, and it's how you respond from that. And so I think, right now, the two veteran presences are Desmond Bane, who's been better than advertised in that regard, and Tyus Jones. And if you look at the way that Anthony Black has progressed this season, you could credit it to his work with God Shamgod, his work with Magic head coach Jamal Mosley, his work with, player development, Jeremiah Boswell. And the other guy he's been tied to the hip to is Ty.
Well, first off, Coach, how is Goga, and did the injury happen?
I think there's a combination of the guys right now, and I think as Paolo and Franz's careers go on, and we look at them as they get into their late 20s, I think those guys are going to be tremendous leaders. It's just a matter of them growing into that role.
Absolutely. And you forget how young this team is sometimes because that core has been there for now a few years together. But they're all about my age. I'm 23, and most of these guys are probably about the same age as me, if not maybe a little bit older. I mean, I know Anthony Black just celebrated his 22nd birthday, I think less than a few weeks ago. It was pretty recent that he just celebrated it. But you hear these guys talk, and they know what they need to do, and they've built this experience over the last couple of years of the frustrations, the ups and downs. And a lot of times, even in December, when these injuries started happening to the team, Coach Mosley said they've been there before. And not a lot of young teams get to deal with that adversity early on, early in the season, early in their careers. It makes them better in the long run. I was thinking about something that Wendell Carter Jr. had said this morning, just talking about the energy of the team when the offense stalls. And he's so honest. That's the one thing I love about him is he says, you have to channel that energy into your defense when the offense isn't working and get in front of the team, be the unselfish play, make the unselfish play, and that's going to be something that's really important for this team is how they continue to handle that adversity as a younger team, as they build more experience heading into the later part of the season, as well as the postseason. They will have dealt with these issues that maybe some of these other teams haven't at that point, and it'll make them better in the long run. But right now, the most important thing is trying to come away from tonight with a win. Talked about it. They lost the last 3 games. They got to get themselves back on track. This is a team that's been talking about what they need to do, and they've been building that process. Now we just have to see it on the court tonight.
And once again, you're hearing from Orlando Magic Audio Networks. I still want to call it the radio network, but you guys do much more than that with all the podcasts and other audio platforms that you produce across social media as well. So Magic Audio Networks, Chrissy Birdsall. Chrissy, before you go, we know we lose you to your radio obligations. Where can people listen to you, Jake Chapman, Brandon Kravitz, and the crew tonight as the Magic get set to visit the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yep, we'll be kicking off in just about 15 minutes. You can listen to Brandon Kravitz on the pregame show that starts at 96.9 The Game at 6:30. You can also listen on the Orlando Magic app, NBA League Audio Pass, or Sirius XM. So a lot of different ways to listen to the Magic Cavs tonight. Should be a good one, Dan. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Chrissy, let's come away with a win. I think we'll all be feeling a lot better about the Orlando Magic as they then travel to South Beach. Talk about a change in weather conditions. Happens like that. The Magic left 86-degree Central Florida, record high yesterday, and then go to Cleveland where there's over a foot of snow on the ground. So hopefully, just like the weather changed, hopefully the tide of the season begins to change as well.
Absolutely. Sunny skies ahead. All right.
All right. You take care, Chrissy. And as a reminder, Magic fans, keep the questions coming, whether it be on YouTube, TikTok, whatever social media platform you're choosing to view tonight's Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. And I'll be happy to get to them. One of the things I really want to get to before we hit back to the questions is Donovan Mitchell, who did a great job against the Magic and really, curtailed any type of run that they tried to go on. Paolo really brought it on in the fourth quarter. And each time he made a bucket, he was trading it with Spider, who just, really got downhill and effective in the fourth quarter, had a contest best 36 points in that outing. And I thought Anthony Black did a really good job on him in the first half. And I think we'll see a combo of AB, Jalen Suggs as the night goes on, attack Donovan Mitchell and try to limit him tonight. But what you have to remember about the six-time All-Star, he's currently 7th in the NBA in scoring, putting up 29.1 points per game. He's a true level, three-level scorer, could do it from outside, driving to the back. And, he's knocking down 3.8 three-pointers per night, and that's second most in the NBA. And, one of the things about Mitchell, he's one of the league's best closers. And it's not just the Magic that were affected by what he did in the fourth quarter and then the second half the other night. He's been making a career of doing it, and he's the best at doing it in the league this season. So if you look at his numbers this year, he's leading the league in second half points with 17.2 of them per game. So over 17 of his 29 points per game are coming in the second half, and he's second in the league behind only Giannis Antetokounmpo in fourth quarter points, putting up close to 9 of them per outing. So that's really, the guy that's going to do the damage in the second half, and the Magic have to be ready and aware of that. And so when we talked to Desmond Bane post-game after that Saturday night loss, we asked him, what are the keys to slowing down Donovan Mitchell in the second half? And he really talked about keeping the ball square, staying in front of him. A number of times, what I think caught a few of the players off guard is he rejected the screen. So the Magic went for the switch. He rejected it, drove to the basket. He's a heck of a player, and AB did a good job on him most of the night. And so hopefully he's able to adjust, and they recognize some of the things he did in the fourth quarter, second half to counter their counters, and they step up in that regard tonight. So hopefully, we see an improved effort on Donovan Mitchell and keep him under that 30-point threshold tonight. Looking at some of the other questions tonight as we go through, some people talking about Wendell Carter Jr. Yes, he's one of the guys the Magic need to step up tonight, and it's tough, when you go look at that Cleveland Cavaliers front line of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. They're two of the best to do it on the interior. Mobley, one of the best, perimeter switching big men in the NBA. So it's a tough task, both ahead for Paolo and Dell tonight. And that's why you really need to see a lot of the guys on the perimeter step up in that regard. And whether that be Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, Tristan Da Silva, those guys are all going to have key roles tonight. And hopefully the outside shot starts to go down, because when you're on the road in a place like Cleveland, you have to manufacture energy. We know all about that. Will Dawson keeping the positive vibes going in the Dawson household. Love to see it. That's what the Magic need more of this year. All right, and taking a look at Jalen Suggs' numbers, close to 15 points per game this season, over 3.5 rebounds, close to over 4.5 assists, shooting nearly 50% from the floor. Jalen Suggs is such an integral part to this Magic team. Some people call him the secret to unlocking the Magic's offense. I think it's the trio, the combination of when you have him out there with Franz, Paolo, Bane, that you become one of the more electrifying offenses. And the early season numbers show it. Had both a top half offense, top half defense in this league, and they were really using that defense to create offense. And so without one of their best on-ball defenders in the wing in Franz Wagner, and limited minutes for Suggs, it's going to take other guys stepping up in that regard to keep those numbers high. Taking a look at Desmond Bane's season numbers, averaging close to 19 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, shooting over 45% from the field. As Magic head coach Jamal Mosley said, you can't say enough positive things about Desmond Bane. He's been better than advertised on and off the court. And I think as the season goes on and he gets more comfortable with his role, you're going to only see him elevate his, factor as a leader on this team, because he's a dog. And I think, that's going to come out as his voice continues to grow with this team, going to be even more of a factor down the stretch. Taking a look, doom is what you would hear from the Tweet Warriors. The energy was bad except last game. Yeah, Twitter as a whole tends to be one of the more negative spots. As a fan of other teams and other sports, you look and you could copy and paste the team name. You see a lot of the same type of tweets when things aren't going well. And the way to work your way out of that is to get wins. And that's what the Magic are going to be aiming to do tonight. Looking at Paolo Banchero getting his shot going, I thought he was really effective in the fourth quarter of the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Started to find his ways of attacking and breaking down their defensive schemes. Obviously, having a guy like Evan Mobley, who's perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, on him in stretches makes things difficult. But I thought Paolo found a way to find some chinks in that armor and start to break it away. And so hopefully tonight he could pick up where he left off in that second half, because I really thought he manufactured some good offense. And when the Magic's offense came along, it was funny. They couldn't find a way to generate stops. So I'm looking for a complete full 48-minute performance. If they play defense like they did in the first half and create offense like they did down the stretch, I think the Magic come away with a victory against this Cleveland team tonight. But it's going to be a hostile environment. We know all about that from the playoff series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We know that Mo Wagner is not welcome in that city. They usually boo him when he touches the basketball. But that's the type of environment that can get this team to rally around each other and create the energy amongst themselves. So that's what I'm looking for tonight. Taking a look at the injury report, I see some fans asking about it. Different players. When I'm looking at the latest injury report, the players out for Cleveland are Darius Garland, Chris Livingston, Sam Merrill, Max Strus, Luke Travers, and DeAndre Hunter remains questionable as of the NBA's 6:15 injury report. I see no sign of Donovan Mitchell. I haven't checked the latest on Twitter, but I see some of the people mentioning him. As far as I know, as soon as we started the show, he's playing, and I see some of the others saying the same. He's not listed on the injury report, so Magic are going to have their hands full with him tonight. But as mentioned, they'll be without Garland, Merrill, and Strus, who are some dangerous perimeter threats. The Magic, on the other hand, once again without Franz Wagner, who's had his injury designation switched to left high ankle sprain injury management as he tries to get back going. And hopefully, he can get that rectified soon, because we need those three guys back on the court. I have a feeling that once we see the star trio back together, that, things will start clicking for the Magic. Just look at one injury. When you look at Tyrese Halliburton with the Indiana Pacers, they were in the NBA Finals. Halliburton goes down. Turner leaves in free agency. That's just two guys. And all of a sudden they go from being an NBA Finals team to a team with the second worst record in the NBA. When you look at players, star value and what they add to games made, that comes out at the end of the season. There were only two teams in the Magic's bucket last season who had similar games missed with star players, and those were the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Orleans Pelicans, and both of those were high lottery drafting teams. The Magic, meanwhile, made the playoffs. So the Magic are fighting through these injuries, but, eventually it starts to take its toll. They need to get healthy and have the guys that they're playing the big bucks to, the guys who are so impactful in their offensive scheme, out on the court together. So need to see that happen. And in LG, it's not just one player. You have Paolo out, and you start to get things built around without him. And then Franz goes out, and you start to build things without him. And then Jalen goes out, and then you have to re-ramp things up around them. So it's the combination of things stretching over the course of two seasons that starts to wear on a group. So it's more than just one guy. And as evidenced by other teams in the NBA who've struggled like this, with whether it be the Indiana Pacers went from finals team to going to be high-level lottery team, it affects teams throughout the course of the NBA. So just as a reminder, tonight, taking a look at the night's storylines, we're going to leave them the same as they were last game because I think it's so important. Number one, start off hot. And when I say that, I mean be hot about the fact that you've lost 3 straight games. Start off hot in the fact that you want a good start to this season. And then on top of that, what I want to see from the Magic is I want to see them slow down Spider. We've touched on why that he is so effective and what they need to slow him down. That's imperative. And then knock down your open threes. That's going to be key tonight. The Cavs are going to be daring the Magic to shoot. The Magic are going to create open looks, and it's going to be a matter of knocking them down. So I think that's so important tonight. And if the Magic can do that, they will come away with a victory. As a reminder, tonight's game is going to be on FanDuel Sports Network. Pre-game coverage is going to begin in 3 minutes. As soon as we stop broadcasting here, you could turn into Jeff Turner, Kendra Douglas doing the pre-game show, and then play-by-play will be Dante Marchitelli. And if you don't have FanDuel Sports Network, which I advise you do, nationally, it will be on Peacock. You'll be able to tune into that game as well. As a reminder, this is Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. I'm OrlandoMagic.com's Dan Savage. Appreciate all the comments, whether they're positive, negative, etc. You guys, our passion is keeping this show going, keeping the Magic's fan spirits alive. Happy to answer them. It's always fun to interact. And let's do what we all want. Come away with a win tonight. Head to Miami, take another one, and make a streak out of it. Once again, I'm OrlandoMagic.com's Dan Savage. This was Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. And we'll see you next time on Wednesday when the Magic prepare to beat the Heat.
Why you all up in my face? What's the deal? Run the city just for fun.